What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning in to the CultPop Yuletide podcast, episode 57, a wonderful, delightful little bit of a show where we talk about comics, breaking news, rune-powered action Santas, and all the other things that scratch your nerdy little itches. We are broadcasting not quite live, so get out of the chat. We can't hear you.
On or off. We're live or we're not live.
We're not quite live.
Yeah.
We're not dead. We're undead. This is an undead podcast. We're broadcasting from Yunk Junk HQ, which is a bomb-ass podcast production space in Manayunk, PA. Dylan, our producer, Dylan the Great, is back there on the microphone. Woot woot. He's doing the woot woots.
What did I do last time?
That's the sound of the police.
Oh, crap.
That's the sound of the beast. Thank you. But seriously, though, if anything goes wrong, Dylan did it. What?
Well, I already don't know
cool.
the Young Junk. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, you did it nice last time.
We'll go back to it, though.
Yeah.
It's recorded.
Young Junk.
God damn it. Young Junk.
I'm your Holly-stuffed host, Johnny Destructo of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street. It's a rad-ass comic shop that caters to rad-ass folks like yourself, so please come by and buy my wares. With me tonight is Brian.
Hi. JD, you're wearing the same clothes as the last time I looked at you.
Hold on.
Oh, jeez. So anyway, I'm just give a play-by-play. JD is, some of his shirt is coming off like it happens when you, now all of his shirt is off. And this might be the first time I've seen JD topless. We've never gone swimming together. So... We've never gone swimming together.
This is a different day now.
Yes.
I'm wearing different clothes, so this is not the same episode that we just recorded.
I mean, you could have left your pants on. They don't see it.
Oh.
So.
Damn it.
All right. Well, if you're going to do it, go all the way.
Noel is not with us because he's got the sniffies. He's sick.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Still?
It's been a full week and he's still sick. God damn it. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't get into the chat right now because we're not going to see it. I feel very...
You can get it. You can put your shirt
I can't tell if I feel uncomfortable or free.
If you're free.
This feels kind of nice.
Interesting. Interesting.
But you can email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. We are here tonight to talk about a graphic novel series from Grant Morrison and Dan Mora called Klaus. I was about to ask you, when I see KL...
Yeah.
I automatically pronounce it Klaus.
Okay.
Do you think it's actually just Klaus?
No.
It's Klaus.
No. I mean, yes, that is not an incorrect pronunciation. It's not enforced either.
Okay.
Yeah, like
it's Klaus.
Klaus.
Klaus. Okay.
Or if you want to say Klaus,
then by all means.
The man who comes for the winters.
What have you been up to this week, Brian? That's the next segment.
What have you been up to this week, Brian? I love this segment.
It's all about you, baby.
Yeah. And what I've been up to. And
it is a movie called
entitled
Family Man.
Family Man.
Oh, we got there.
It's not, is it The Family Man? I don't know. If you want to find it, just type Family Man in.
Yeah.
Or say it.
Not Family Guy.
No. If you want to find Family Guy, then you type that in.
So
The or Family Man.
Yeah.
Stars Nicolas Cage and Tay Leone. And
I forgot about her.
Yeah, she's in it.
Kind of just disappeared after a bit.
She did, although she would, to me anyway, but she was in something very successful not long ago. And I forget what that was, but I was very happy about it because I think she's great. And Don Cheadle, well before I knew the first time I saw the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd really hit it big at the time. And he's great.
Before he achieved Cheadleness, like prime Cheadleness.
Before we knew about it.
It's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Exactly.
And Jeremy Piven, who I like quite a bit.
Me too. He's from that show Cupid.
Well, I know him from Cupid.
And Ellen.
I know him from Judgment Night.
I never saw that, although I've heard about it.
A lot of fun. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, yes, I've always liked him. And it's also weirdly very similar to a movie called Mr. Destiny, starring Michael Cocaine.
Michael Cocaine. Yeah.
This is a different movie than the one you've heard of.
Yeah.
both of whom have a person receiving like a experience of another life.
Yeah.
And involve the mystical type person who does that driving up in a car when they are wondering what's happening and explaining it to them.
Oh, no
It's
kidding.
weird that they're very similar. We watched Mr. Destiny 2 because
The sequel?
tomorrow, yes. Destiny comes back.
Yeah.
And because tomorrow was like, this is a Christmas, yeah. Because tomorrow was like, keep that sweater. But do whatever you want. So tomorrow was like, oh, let's watch it. Like, let's watch a Christmas movie. Let's watch Mr. It's not a Christmas. It does not take place during Christmas, but it has a Christmassy feel because he like learns a lesson about how life should be, what it should be like. So anyway, Family Man, really solid movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I really liked it then, and I've seen it a few times in years since around the holidays. It is such an enjoyable man gets a glimpse of another life kind of movie. They do it really well. He plays a very he's a likable character, even when he's in his hard ass money making, you can see he's got something nice going on, and he does a really kind act which earns him the chance to see this glimpse, right? Interestingly, there's one or two characters who don't take that opportunity. At the very beginning and end of the movie, there's like people who might do something good and they don't, and Don Cheadle's character is like, huh?
Don Cheadle's the one who provides the chance?
He's like the mystical entree to this thing. Saul Rubinek is also in it.
Oh, Rubinek.
He's been in a lot of things. He was one of the lead characters in a show called Warehouse 13, which was awesome. Yeah. He's in a great episode of the newer Outer Limits, but he's just been around. He's in Star Trek. Yeah.
Saul Rubinek was in one of my all-time favorite movies, which was called True Romance.
Oh, he was in True Romance?
He's in True Romance. He plays the director.
Okay.
That the end of the film, the climax of the film takes place in a director's hotel room. Okay. He's the director.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
He's the guy who directs Coming Home in the Body Bags, and then the upcoming sequel, Coming Home in a Body Bag 2. He's also in The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's great. Oh.
Like so many Jewish actors. I loved that.
He's one of those guys that I don't know his name, but every time I see him, I'm like,
I do know his name. Now you know his name. For now. Yeah. What's his name?
Saul Rubinek. I'm reading it off of IMDb.
All right.
So go on. So hold on.
All right.
The thing says, a fast lane investment broker offered the opportunity to see how the other half lives, wakes up to find that his sports car and girlfriend have become a minivan and a wife. So I'm assuming the sports car became his wife, and the girlfriend became a minivan.
Do you remember that TV show where the kid would get splashed with water, I think, and he would turn into a car?
Yes.
Which must have been extremely inconvenient.
Turn into
he would become a car.
Yeah, I remember that.
This was the sequel to that.
There's a lot more screaming and
yes.
blood. Yeah. This is directed by Brett Ratner.
He can never swim.
I did not know that.
Take a shower.
Oh, look at that.
Yes,
Brett Ratner of Red Dragon, Rush Hour, X-Men: The Last Stand, which is we don't really talk about that. Yeah, he interesting.
Really
The Revenant. Wow, he did direct it. Oh, he's executive producer on The Revenant.
That was. You remember last time? You remember back when we were talking about
a week ago.
Like a week ago.
Yeah.
In that both our time passed, and we were wondering who in Violent Night. There was that guy that you were like, whoa, wait, what was this guy in? He was the one holding them hostage. I forget his name, Gingerbread Man or something. It wasn't that.
No, he was Krampus.
Yeah. He was in The Revenant.
Thank you.
Yes.
I haven't seen The Revenant.
Neither have I.
It's on. Oh. It's on my list. It's on my list of things. You did, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I know it was a little while ago.
So I like these sorts of movies, and I think it has a lot to do with my interest in the multiverse. Oh. So, before I had a word for it, before I had a multiverse, a descriptor for it, I really enjoyed things like this, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
And Sliding Doors. Have you ever seen Sliding Doors?
No, I never have, and I've always been, because I love this kind of thing too.
Yeah, for someone who likes these sorts of movies, you should definitely check out Sliding Doors.
I do want to.
It's got Goop.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah. You think the G and the P stand for Gwyneth Paltrow, and the two O's are some other thing?
Oop. Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah.
Interesting.
Is what
they
Goop
are
stands
a
for.
word. All right.
So yeah, I just automatically like these sorts of films where you
think it's
catch
a
a
Wonderful
glimpse
Life?
as to maybe the multiversal version of yourself.
Yeah, some other what if.
Yeah.
Which
The what
I
if,
find
perfect.
really interesting.
An Elseworld.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think It's a Wonderful Life was maybe
first?
my first experience with that idea? That like, what if one thing changed and everything was different,
probably.
or something was probably me too.
Yeah.
I mean, DC Comics obviously had it, and I was reading them at a young age. I don't know when I saw It's a Wonderful Life, but yeah.
I remember this is a sidetrack. No one gives a shit. But like, It's a Wonderful Life was such a mainstay of Christmas time, and it was always, I think, just playing on television, like
TNT.
TNT. Thank you. That I thought I had seen the whole movie.
No,
But
he
I-
fixes it in the end.
But I just had kind of the idea of it in my head.
And you've seen a lot of
never
parodies
actually-
of it and
Yeah.
references and all that stuff.
And
yeah.
and I kind of just poo-pooed it. I was just like, oh, It's a Wonderful Life, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one year, I'm probably only about 10, 15 years ago, I actually sat down to watch it, the whole thing. And I was blown away by how
Really?
good that movie is.
That's interesting. I have not seen it in a long time. I saw the play not long ago. In fact, my friend of the show, Ron Palecchio, and Sean Yates, friend of Brian Lee, Sean was directing it last year, I believe, and Ron was in it, and I went to see it. And Sean, I think maybe now is in it at a place called the Candlelight Theater, where he often performs. Very good if you guys want to go and check something like that out.
Right on.
Do you know why It's a Wonderful Life played so often, or at least at first?
No.
The rights were not renewed because it was not a popular movie. So stations could air it for free.
Wow.
So they did. So people assumed, as in the way of things sometimes happen, that it was a Christmas classic because it was on all the time. And then people got to like it. This is what I've heard. This is what I've heard. Yeah.
That's really neat.
Interesting.
That's a good story.
Thank you.
Shit, I had no idea.
There you go.
I feel like I was having a conversation with someone previously. There's a sect of fans out there who will use box office receipts to...
Which it was only recently even something you heard about ever.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, but it's like, oh, if you... the Marvels must suck as a movie because the box office sucks. And I'm like, do you know how many movies have failed at the box office and are now classics?
That's true.
Not saying that the Marvels is going to be a classic movie, but the fact that there are people who base their opinions on how much money a movie makes is really neat to me. I think my retort was like, they don't cut me a check, so it doesn't really affect my opinion one way or the other.
And like, it's great if other people like something that I thought was good.
Yeah.
But my feeling that it is good is notwithstanding. Yeah. It does withstand. It's not even interacted with by other people not having seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, but my point being is that I want to say that I went back and was looking at classics that didn't do well in the theater, and one of them was It's a Wonderful Life.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, sometimes really good art is not appreciated until later because it's advanced along a particular path that society has not gone down.
Yep.
Maybe there's some stuff out there that had things been a little bit different, we would now consider classics,
It's also the other direction is kind of interesting as well. There's a lot of movies that have done really well at the box office. You look back and you're kind of like, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe that
of a
wasn't so
time.
great. Yeah.
And,
But so this movie, which I keep wanting to call Weatherman,
it was
which
a
is
different
another
movie starring Nicolas Cage where he
John.
plays a man who in the course of events.
Have you not seen Weatherman?
He has a bow and arrow.
Okay.
It does not answer your question, but it sort of does. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
One thing I really like about Family Man is the treatment of which life is better, right? And the fact that neither one is necessarily better, right? He's, I think the glimpse that he experiences is better in total, right? But it's not like, oh, everything's fantastic. And when he comes back from it, he has the opportunity to, change things going forward. There's no, not that you would expect, but there's no like staying in that other reality. Right. And he, can now try to build what he had, but in a different way. And I just think it's an interesting choice for them. Like, it's not like he comes back and then he realizes like, oh, I should behave differently in my life. But he maybe can follow a similar path, but different. Yeah.
Is he a jerk in the beginning?
He's not a jerk. He's
just a guy. He's a regular guy, and
he's upset. He's like very, very into acquiring money. He's the very young, I think, president of, or maybe the youth is not part, but he's the president of this investment firm or something like that. He makes people work on Christmas Eve because they're about to make $130 billion, but none of them are like, we got to go home. They're all in to make money too, and they're like, not super into it, but they're going to do it. He's going to go work on Christmas, and he calls them in for an emergency strategy session right before the experience that he has. And they're not into it, but it's not, he also...
he's not Scrooge.
No. Like, he's kind to people. He, or like interacts in a friendly way with people that he sees. And he does, with no prompting, he like tries to avert a dangerous situation and does, and that's what earns him this experience. Cool. His friendship with Jeremy Piven is really fun. His finding out like what happened, because he's gonna leave to go away to London to like study and he'll be back in a year, right? And he never comes back in the original time.
Okay.
And in this one, he still leaves, but he comes back a day later, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And then like a couple of events happen and it just completely changes the course of what he was going to do with his life. And they lay it out in a just a solid way. The kid that plays the little girl is great. She's fun. They have a great interaction between the two of them. She thinks he's an alien, so like she knows that he's not her dad because he behaves differently.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's an innovative take on the like, what if?
Yeah.
What if things were different story. And it ends in a cool way.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out again. Yeah. I remember watching it a while ago. The year 2000, I believe, is probably when I saw it.
It was 23 years ago.
I was like, oh, that was pretty good. Because if you've watched the show, which you haven't because you're on it, I'm not a big Nicolas Cage fan.
Yeah. Although you seem to be.
Now I'm I feel like I'm begrudgingly becoming a Nick Cage
More
fan.
of a grower.
Which
It's true.
I started
when it
off,
comes to Nick Cage.
I'm not a shower, but I'm a grower.
But now you're up for it.
Which leads me to Mandy, which is the movie that I've been up to this week. Huh?
How does it lead you to that?
Because Nicolas Cage is in it.
What?
Yes.
He's in 2 movies.
Yeah.
23 years apart.
So I love horror movies, and I don't get to, I used to have like horror movie nights, like once a week I would watch horror movies with friends and stuff like that. We'd go to the theater, and my life's a little different now. But
there's a theatrical release of a horror movie that you can see once a week. Oh, okay.
But we would, if we could, we would go to one movie. Yeah.
I got you.
So these days, I've been able to carve out a little bit of time with my friends to have a horror movie night, and we had all decided to watch Mandy.
Oh, is it a horror movie?
It is. Oh, yes, it is.
Is that right?
It is.
Okay.
And the enchanted lives of a couple in a secluded forest are brutally shattered by a nightmarish hippie cult and their demon biker henchmen, propelling a man into a spiraling, surreal rampage of vengeance.
Oh.
And it's directed by Panos Cosmatos.
Oh.
Or Cosmatos. I didn't know this until I just looked it up on IMDb. Also directed Tombstone.
Really?
The Western.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about that?
What an awesome Western film.
Is that a remake of an earlier movie?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It might be. I'm not a big Western guy.
Okay.
But I don't think so.
Interesting.
So yeah, and this stars Nicolas Cage, Andrea Riseborough, and Linus Roche, who's he played another bad guy in another movie that I watched last year called The Apology, which was something else. That was a nice little closed set kind of everything happens in one location
Was he just
horror
apologizing
movie?
for things that he had done? Like, I'm sorry.
Sort of.
Oh, is it violent too?
It goes in ways that you don't expect. It's starring the woman who played the wife on Breaking Bad.
That's what I was thinking. Skylar White is her character's name.
Yeah.
And
but she is the star of this movie, and it is a woman whose daughter has gone missing maybe about 10 years ago.
Oh.
And she still hasn't given up hope. She's still putting up flyers. She's still trying her best to keep the search going.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on from there.
Oh.
It is very, very good. And it's, if you like plays, I feel like it's a very good kind of play.
I like plays.
It's got 2 actors.
Okay.
For the majority of the film.
Two-hander.
Yeah.
That's what they call it in plays.
Oh, yeah?
I think so. And TV, I think.
So anyway, yeah. So Mandy, I didn't know what to expect. I have been getting on sort of a Nicolas Cage kick because I really enjoyed not Five Nights at Freddy's.
You did not. You enjoyed the one that you saw
with Nicolas Cage.
Roughly concurrently.
Wally's
World.
Wally's Wonderland.
That's where they were
Willy's
going.
Wonderland.
Wally World
we got
is
there.
where they were going.
Willy's Wonderland.
Yes.
So
walking
yeah.
in a Willy Wonderland.
And
all right.
This movie, I think, was an interesting watch. I think that I needed more drugs.
Okay.
I didn't do any drugs. No drugs.
You needed more.
I needed some drugs.
Okay.
Because it is not only do some of the characters take LSD, the movie itself, from beginning to end, feels like it's trying to show you, the audience, what life might be like on LSD. Okay. All the it seems like all of the characters are on LSD.
Interesting.
And it's shot that way. All of the colors are sort of psychedelic. The camera movement psychedelic. It definitely has a drug-fueled vibe the entire time, even before the violence happens.
It had a drug-fueled vibe even before the violence?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's definitely a very specific sort of film.
Who's seeking vengeance in this?
Nicolas Cage.
He's the vengeance seeker?
He is the vengeance seeker.
He's from the regular family who has been beset by this cult, and now he's going at something happened, and now he's going after them.
Yep. He and his wife live in a very cool little house in the middle of the woods, and he is a logger.
Logger.
He like cuts down trees. Logger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Does he sell the logs? Okay.
And
what's his? How does he get by?
Logs.
He gets by on logs.
He gets by on logs.
All right, don't we all? Not really.
So, yeah, and then the violence happens.
Okay.
And then he goes on it's a revenge story.
And there's a demon involved.
There are demons involved.
Multiple demons, who are the hench people of the cult, who are regular humans.
Yes.
But they have magical powers. They were able to enhench demons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enhench.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie, I think if you're a big horror fan and you like watching movies that look like they were made with drugs, I feel like you could probably snort the film.
Okay.
I would recommend it. I don't know if I'm ever going to revisit it, but it definitely has stuck with me.
What if you were on LSD?
I would definitely revisit it.
Mushrooms.
I've never done mushrooms. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, it's not something I'd recommend to Brian. It is not up your alley in the slightest.
Especially if I was on LSD.
Yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy that.
But yeah, Dylan, have you seen Mandy? Are you aware of it?
I have not. I almost watched it. I read the description on Hulu. It sounded interesting.
What happened?
I probably just watched 30 Rock or something.
30 Rock. It's a good show.
Yeah.
I just finished rewatching that. It's one of my comfort.
I could do with a rewatch. Yeah, it's
shows.
definitely been in that rotation for me.
I would also say that there are movies that I enjoy in a group, and there are movies I enjoy by myself. I sat and I watched The Apology by myself.
Okay.
Because it's a very sort of serious kind of take a look at something.
Yeah.
And I was able to just absorb it that way and by myself. This movie, I think, is better with a crowd.
Like a fun experience, if you like that kind of thing. Just
it's
the
not
vibe,
fun.
the energy of the crowd.
Yes, the vibes and the energy.
I got you.
That
was fun.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a movie I would recommend to a lot of people.
What about the song Mandy?
How's that go?
I don't know. I think Barry Manilow, right?
I don't know.
Hey there, Mandy. It's a letter he wrote.
Oh yeah.
No, it's I don't know.
It's really cracked open the nostalgia box for
there's
me.
something. There's a reference to it on The Simpsons, if that is Mandy. And I don't know. This whole time you've been saying Mandy, I've been thinking like there's some other much more cogent association for me.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, this is Mandy.
Gotcha.
I cannot think. I've been thinking of Brandy, the song, Mandy Moore.
Doesn't matter.
None of them. Doesn't matter to you.
Right.
Or the majority of the population.
So we're here to discuss Klaus.
Klaus.
Klaus!
Yes. Although he's Nordic, right? Or Germanic, I
Yeah.
guess. So still if it's Klaus.
I feel like that's germane to the conversation. Thank you for bringing it up. Klaus is a graphic novel series from Grant Morrison and Dan Moore. What we have here, Noel, poor little devil, little sick fella, he lent us his Kickstarted version of it.
Cool.
So this is a lovely slipcover, which is, it's tight fit.
Cool. Well, you like him tight.
I do.
Yeah.
I do like a tight fit. So
You too. You go on about it.
here's this. Where we're gonna
It's
go?
really
Where
nice.
we're gonna go?
Very well bound.
I was gonna say, you know what it's missing? It's not missing. It's got a ribbon.
Right there, tucked in.
It's got the gilded silver
Now, here's the
metallic
thing.
pages.
I think, right? You said it earlier. It was gilded. I was
Yeah.
like, yes. Although, no, I don't think it is gilded.
Oh shit! Did I
that's
misuse that word?
Gold, specifically.
Oh
Yeah?
shoot!
It's like argented or whatever the word for in silvering something.
Silvered.
It's silvered.
It's been silvered. And you open it up,
Christmas
and it's
sweater.
got Christmas sweater
That's
print.
very cool.
And Brian, do
Yeah,
you
what's
want to tell the folks
Mhm.
what Klaus is about?
I would like to. And it is about this guy, Klaus,
Mm-hmm.
who is like a wild man. He was found as a baby out on the ice. His mother had died, and so he's raised by this family in this town. And it is the origin of a Santa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some Nordic magic. It's this classic kind of like little town that is something terrible is happening because of the ruler of the town is not leading the people well. He's up to something.
Yeah.
And so it's the story of how this guy, Klaus.
Grimsvig is the name of the town.
Grimsvig.
It's a lovely little hamlet.
It is a lovely little hamlet.
I did
it. Well, it used to be.
Oh,
And
it's
it-
true.
It
Oh,
is
it's
by the end
true.
of the
Yeah.
story. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's also the Lady Dagmar, which is the same name as the mother in Enchanted on Netflix by Matt Groening. I'm like, this is not a name that I've heard before.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I don't know what the association is or if this just is a name. So anyway, it's the story of him deciding to bring presents to these children where presents have been outlawed. It's a very classic kind of tale.
Footloose,
Yes.
right?
With presents
Classic
instead of
Footloose.
dancing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I feel like one of the what do you call them? The wooden ones with the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I forget. Rankin and Bass.
Oh yeah.
I feel like one of those had a town where Christmas wasn't happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think
okay.
so. And maybe perhaps the seminal one with the Heat Miser and the Cold Miser.
Oh yeah. It's been so long since I've seen them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We did a rendition of it on a previous Christmas episode.
Did we?
We did.
Oh.
And so he, and how he gets his magic and how he becomes the Klaus that we know,
Now,
sort of.
so we were assigned
Mm-hmm.
three
Tasks. Yeah.
three books to read.
Yes,
I
our
read-
readings 3, Noel called them.
I read the one.
You read
the
the readings 1.
Yes, I read one
Uh-huh.
reading,
Uh-huh.
which is basically
You get nothing.
the origin of. I said, "Good day, sir." It's the first Klaus.
It's
and
the first Klaus.
Yeah, and it's his origin story
Mhm.
and how he becomes the immortal Santa Claus.
Yes.
Yeah, the Santa.
A Santa, as you would have learned.
Oh shit!
And you are now learning,
Yeah.
to your disgrace, because you did not read the other
Yeah.
2.
Although I am
But-
going to,
Yes. Excellent.
because did you like
Mm-hmm.
Klaus?
I did like Klaus. Do you mean the totality or the first volume? Because I'll answer them both. Yes.
Great.
But I liked one more than the other. The first volume I thought was cool and fun, but not didn't really catch a hold of me. The art is amazing.
Yeah.
Dan Mora's art is great. And the storytelling is great. I mean, Grant Morrison is an able storyteller. It didn't have anything that wild or
Grant Morrisonian
type. Yes.
You know, Grant Morrison, it can be a very ethereal, abstract.
Ethereal. Yes.
Yeah. Scribe.
Writer. And Santa's sleigh was certainly that. The idea that he is empowered by these northern lights, these spirits of the northern
It's
lights.
like, sort of other dimensional beings.
Yes. Very much in stuff Grant Morrison has done before, applied to Santa Claus.
Yes.
He's a Norse guy, which I thought was cool in this vein. So that was cool. And yes, like I said, like the sleigh is this like abstract light construct that is cool and is the kind of thing that you would say, like, if you lived back then, I imagine, well, that's magic.
Yeah.
Like, that is some crazy, even though it looks kind of sci-fi to us now, kind of. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought it was cool. The specials were where I really got to enjoy this character. He's set up. He's on these, I read, I don't know if it's straight from Grant Morrison, but that they decided they wanted to do something like a Doctor Who Christmas specials.
Oh,
where
fun.
For years now, they have done that where there's just this one-off story, this crazy thing happens, and, you know, it's heartwarming in some way and what have you. So they did that, and it's great. They take place at different times. One of them is around now and involves this backstory about Klaus had been imprisoned on the moon for a few decades, having involved himself in a moon civil war, a Moontian civil war.
What?
Yes.
Oh.
This is just mentioned. He's just coming back from this, right? He got out. And I had read that one accidentally first, just the first few pages. And I was like, oh, is this, you know, am I missing something? But it's not at all addressed in the earlier thing. No. Right? It's just this backstory. So it takes place around now and involves Geppetto of Pinocchio's acquaintance and the Winter Witch that they go, and there's like a scheme that is happening. The Winter Witch doesn't really say anything. The Yule Lads, which is another tradition of...
I don't know the Yule Lads.
They're Swedish or Norse or some Norse, I think. And they're like kind of like the elves, and they help out. I think they deliver presents as well. Some of them have been turned by the Winter Witch, right? But the story turns out in a cool way of like, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's just it's a satisfying Christmas special kind of thing. And so it's revealed over these that there are other Santas, that other people who function in this way that are the Santas of other cultures.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. One of which is Tamara, my fiance, grew up in Armenia, and this was the winter figure that she knew growing up, or one of them, the grandfather Frost and his granddaughter, who are like sort of warriors in this, but are Santa. I don't think it became more popular during the Soviet Union. Because it's not specifically associated with Christmas. But it's a winter gift-giving figure who's very similar. And so they were in this, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And
sounds a little bit like Grant Morrison's Batman Inc.
Yes.
Right?
Or almost like a multiverse of Santas that are all, it's not a multiverse. They're all just like, in Sandman, they play with this kind of idea, like the gods are real because people believe in them. And although they never get too into like how Santa gets his power, how Klaus gets his powers or anything like that, they do kind of mention one of them is a little weak because people are moving away from, after the fall of the Soviet Union, people are moving away from belief in him. So they do that. There's another story about something like tears from a snowman. The snowman is crying, something like that, and it involves this snowman and some more Norse mythology and an asteroid or something. It's very cool. These are really cool. I really enjoyed them more than the original one. He's fully empowered. He's Santa having crazy adventures. It's not like, oh, he's a warrior and then he became Santa. And the final one was like kind of just a series of images.
That one I read.
Life.
Yeah, that one had come out, I think, recently after the first time I read the first volume.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, great, I'm going to jump into this. And I was like, oh, it's just a bunch of posters.
Yeah. It was cool having read the other two. It was like, oh, that was cool. It seemed more like the kind of thing that came after another story that is just
it's
like
not something,
backup.
It's not something you would buy an issue of, in my estimation. I was like, why would you buy this? You just put this at the back of the trade paperback.
Right.
Yeah, this is extra stuff, not...
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think the plan is to do it every Christmas.
Oh.
So I don't know if that has already been shown not to be the case. I don't know when the last one came. Okay.
No. The first one was like 2015.
Okay.
So it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun seeing the like magic-y Santa stuff. Oh, there's a Pola Cola is a hinted at villain, and then it's, you know, Coca-Cola heavy on the polar bears. And they you know, they want Christmas, and it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun.
So last episode we were talking about a Christmas violent movie called Violent Night.
Yes.
Starring David Harbour as Santa Claus, and it's basically Die Hard meets actual Santa. And your problem with that movie was, one of the issues that you had in your naughty list was that the powers of the Santa weren't ill-defined.
Yeah.
Do you find that the powers of the Santa in the Klaus series are defined enough for you?
Well-defined. Well enough, anyway. You know, they're like mystical. He can do some stuff. He doesn't have them for the majority of the introduction.
Yeah. The first volume,
Yeah, which I remember thinking afterwards, I was like, it would have been cool to see him as the Klaus he becomes a little bit more, which I then got subsequently in these other things. So, yeah, you don't know exactly what his deal is, but he's a powerful, immortal warrior who can also tell who is naughty and who is nice, and it doesn't go against what I would expect, like Violent Night did, where it's like, it hasn't been explained to me that he doesn't have some immortal stuff going on. Does
this, after, because I've only read the first volume, where at the end he becomes imbued with sort of like this cosmic energy, which gives him powers.
Yeah.
In the follow-up volumes, does he take hit points? Does he take damage?
He can have something happen to him, right? Like the threat of death is not gone.
Okay.
How much fighting he gets into? Yeah, I would say so. I don't remember. It's not like a breeze. You know what I mean? It's not. He's going up against other very powerful figures.
I see.
And he
not just humans.
No, he doesn't just mow down humans. He swings his sword cheerfully.
Thank God I got Timmy a machine gun.
Yeah, exactly. So he he needs help from other winter figures.
Nice.
There's a goat involved who I forget I have heard of. That's an interesting page you've got there. When he becomes
the Klaus,
his heart becomes more like ice.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I would say he embodies enough of what I would see this version of Santa being.
Yeah.
And he seems to fit. He's got a wolf friend who he goes around with.
Elsa or
Lily. Yeah.
Yeah, Lily.
Which
I don't remember from any Christmas mythologies.
Not that I'm aware of, although there's a lot of different stuff going on. Some of it comes, Odin, one of his other names was Yulnir. And a lot of modern Santa, I've heard, takes some of its cues from depictions of Odin in that aspect. Yeah.
I'm seeing a sort of bat cave.
A sort of bat cave. Can I get a better look at that so I can see what its deal is?
I don't know if you read that bit.
This is... I read all of it. Okay, so that is Grandfather Frost's place.
Gotcha.
It's a really cool looking ice castle in I guess the North Pole. I'm not sure.
So I guess it's sort of a mix of the Fortress of Solitude and the Batcave.
Yeah, kind of.
Right?
Yeah, and there's some high tech stuff going on in there.
Yeah, it's got a Klaus mobile. Of some
more
sort.
than you know. Yes. Yeah, it's a cool mythological figures in a modern tech environment. Like, not that that's modern. It's like sci-fi kind of, but yeah, it's fun seeing the other one. Seeing his team ups are fun. Mm-hmm. There's the play of the snowman character, like how his narrative plays out is very cool and satisfying.
Awesome.
And there's a sort of Krampus figure.
There's a definite Krampus figure in the first one.
In the first one. That's right.
Yeah.
There's more of a wolf figure in the later thing.
Gotcha.
But the Krampus figure being the nemesis, the eventually revealed nemesis of the first one is cool.
Yeah, the voice in the wall.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I loved the first volume. We had done it at the Hero Complex for book club a couple Christmases back.
Okay.
And just the fact that, because I saw it had come out and I was like, I'm not going to care about this. This doesn't seem like something that I really give a shit about.
Yeah.
The fact that Grant Morrison wrote it, I was like, oh, that's neat. That's an interesting choice for him. But also, he is not a 100
sometimes.
Yes.
For many people.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is most times for me.
Yeah. Some of the time, like a lot of the times, he writes some of the best stuff.
Yep.
that I know. And then the other times, I'm like, oof.
That was a waste of my times.
Yeah. Well.
So, and I did not know the name Dan Mora at the time.
Right.
Dan Mora has since become one of my top 5 contemporary artists.
Yeah.
I love his comic book work. It's a lot of fun. His superhero stuff on World's Finest is fantastic.
Yes. Once in Future was excellent.
Once in Future. Yep. Yeah, I'm reading that right now.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's so good. So, I was really pleasantly surprised by Grant Morrison's Klaus. I thought it was really, really fun. The, I like the revelation at the end. I like, because when you first go to Grimsvig, the town, it's like, oh, you're not allowed to have any fun.
Yeah, no Christmas.
Like, that's weird.
No
Why?
Yule,
That's so dumb. But then you find out the reasoning for it. And then you find out
the guy didn't like fun.
The other reasoning for it.
Yes.
So there's actually kind of layers that are peeled back a little bit here that I really enjoyed. It was just a really fun Santa story.
Yeah.
It's sort of like this kind of heavy metal vibe, this like
that's interesting.
Nordic metal kind of.
I guess they do go for that sometimes.
Feels like it, right?
I would say not to me. I mean, I don't make that association normally because I'm not too aware of the metal community, but I've heard that they associate themselves with that kind of thing. But to me, I really like Norse mythology. I have a particular interest in it, and I thought that was cool. Just layering that into, because it's very much where a lot of modern Santa's roots are, and I think it's cool when there are stories about that, and to have it be to show those roots.
Yeah, and a fun kind of vibrant story.
I like the fun parts of,
and it also feels hopeful.
Very much so.
It starts off kind of dreary. There's the things to be overcome, but at the end, it does feel.
I find that in a lot of stories. In the beginning, I'm real bummed out.
Yeah.
I'm like, will we ever get out of this?
And you don't always, though.
That's true. Sometimes like, things start out well.
And they get worse.
And sometimes they just stay, like comedies. Sometimes it's okay, like most of the time.
Would you recommend Klaus?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would absolutely recommend Klaus, especially if you like that more old world side of Santa, that mystical side of Santa. There's not a lot of things other than like figures and drawings that you might have in your house that are stories about that. And so this is really cool. I did want to, you talked about the hopefulness of the story, and I really enjoyed the journeys of some of the characters. I don't want to say which one now because it really gives that away, but one of the characters has a very uplifting arc, which I wondered what they were going to do with this character.
Are you talking about Volume 1?
Volume 1.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that because we're introduced to a character.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh, I know who this character is. I know who's going to be by the end.
He's a real shitface.
And then at the end, I was like,
he's not a shitface at all.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's a twist that wouldn't necessarily be unexpected. It maybe if in a different story, but this one I could have seen going either way, and I really didn't see it coming. That it would turn around that much and in that way.
Yeah.
I also, did you find yourself wondering, is this Mrs. Claus? Will she also get these abilities and stay right?
Yep.
And she doesn't, which I don't think is much of a spoiler for it, but I liked what they did about their relationship, and another unusual thing for an immortal character that is just like, oh, why don't we do this? This would be nice, right? And yeah, I'm really excited to hear if you like the next ones and what you think about them. And they definitely have a different flavor because now we're in it. You know, he's just mystical action Santa Claus, who doesn't even really have white hair. Do you notice his hair kind of changes? It's all the way black, and then sometimes there's some white in it.
Oh, no.
Throughout it,
No.
Which I thought was interesting.
Oh, that is neat.
And, you know, he never really gets too Santa of an outfit.
Yeah. Although I was about to ask you, some of the elements that are part of the mythology of the Santa is dealt with in the first volume.
Oh,
like the soldier's armor is the red and
white.
They
wear that he never really wears. I mean, he wears the cloak and with the hood. But yes, I thought that was interesting. And Grimsvig's town colors are red and white.
Yep.
And they have meaning.
Yep.
Oh, speaking of that, I also liked the runestones that give him his power. The fact that they are runestones comes up in the other ones as well. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought, oh wait, that's not, is that Dan Moore too? Oh, sorry. I'm
They-
flipping through the book and distracted because it's so
very good.
gorgeous.
And they show a lot of other alternate covers, which are really great in these collected editions. And some of the stuff that happens in the alternate covers, like, it never occurs in it, but it's still cool. And
Cool.
I forgot it again.
Yeah,
That happened earlier.
You mean last week?
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah.
Was it earlier?
I highly recommend Klaus, at least volume 1. I can speak to that one. I am going to go home and start the next volume.
Yeah.
That's how much I enjoyed reading it today.
Here's what it was.
Oh, hit me.
In the very beginning of the first of the specials, they talk about how he's like, oh, but you've been gone. Who's been delivering presents?
I was thinking that when he's on the moon.
Right? Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, who's delivering the presents?
And he's like, I don't do that anymore. There got to be too many people. I've relied on other Santas and parents to help out with that.
That also happened in Violent Night.
Did it?
Yeah, he mentions how he's not really needed anymore.
Oh, he only delivers
to kids who are in need.
You know, which does solve a sort of recently common Christmas jape, is that in these movies where Santa Claus is real, but people don't believe in him, but he brings presents.
Where do you think all the presents came from that you didn't buy?
Is this how you think the world works?
Yeah.
But you believe in these presents appearing. Santa Claus it's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, presents appear. That is known.
There's probably a Christmas fairy.
Right.
Yeah.
Some kind of like a jolly older elf.
Yeah.
But Santa, so yeah, and this answers those questions. Is like, he's around in very different ways.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I obviously think that what they did with his Nordic background in Klaus was done in a much more satisfying way than in Violent Night, which they both had. Yeah. So anyway,
I highly recommend Klaus Volume 1. Brian recommends all 3 volumes of Klaus.
I recommend it all.
Nice.
Yes.
This, like I said, it's too late. It's too late, suckers. You can't get one of these, I don't think.
Maybe Noel would be willing to part with it for $1 million.
Oh, I bet he would.
You think so? You could probably buy another one for
You know
less.
what? I'll part with it for $1 million. It's in my hands.
That's true.
So Noel, it's mine now.
Yeah.
Give me $1 million.
And then it won't be JD's anymore.
So yeah, this is a lovely Kickstarter that he funded, which also came with the pen and ink of Volume 1. So it's just super big art by Dan Mora with commentary by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. So I just thought it was pretty cool, and I thought I'd show it to you. So thank you, Noel, for letting us borrow this.
Yeah.
$1 million, and I'll give it to you.
Oh yeah, you could also get it from Noel.
Yep. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
There you go.
And we'll talk at you later.
You did